We've been challenged out here at Piney Grove to come up with 5 things that new tractor owners should keep in mind when they're buying a tractor. So let's get into it. We're not only content creators, we're also content consumers just like you guys out there. And there's a lot of channels out there that we watch regularly and we become friends with over time. And one of those channels is Joe the Farmer. Now Joe has 135 acres up there near Nashville, Tennessee. He's got a big, I think 75 horsepower Coyote tractor with a cab. And he recently answered the challenge of Capper Outdoors to come up with 5 things new tractor owners should know or at least consider when they're purchasing a tractor. So Cap did 5 and Joe did 5, and then Joe issued a challenge to 3 other channels to come up with 5 things, and then I'm going to extend that challenge to 3 channels, and I'll reveal what channels they are here in a minute. But let's start with what we have here. We have a Kubota L3901. It's really a 37.5 horsepower tractor, but we basically call it a 40 horsepower tractor class. And Cap and Joe have already cherry-picked 10 things that would immediately come to mind, so we're gonna try and come up with 5 more things, and I think the 5th one will be the most interesting one. But to recap some of the 10 things that they talked about, number 1, they said definitely get a front-end loader. 100% agree with that. These tractors used to not come with front-end loaders, but my dealer says now he can hardly sell a tractor without one, so they really don't even offer them. So a front-end loader, pretty crucial to these compact tractors. I think Cap mentioned to get 4-wheel drive. I think it's rare to see these in 2-wheel drive, but I'll agree with that they need 4-wheel drive. And I think Joe mentioned to have a quick attach bucket. And by quick attach bucket, on Kubota, they use a skid steer quick attach, which is universal across all skid steer attachments. And then John Deere has their own proprietary system that's called John Deere quick attach, but they're all good systems. So we're not here to talk good or bad about tractor brands. We're here to talk about features of tractors or options you should get with your tractor. Now, another thing that Cap mentioned was hooks on the front of your bucket. And whether you go bolt-on or welded, we prefer welded because they're stronger, and we actually gusset the corners of our bucket to make them stronger. But hooks are definitely essential and totally change the way that you use your bucket. You can just do so much more with hooks, especially if you don't have a grapple, and we don't have a grapple. Speaking about grapples, the reason we don't have a grapple is because we don't have a third function. And a third function basically brings hydraulics to the front of the tractor so you can do things up here with hydraulics, but we don't have that, but I would say that that's definitely an option you should look into when buying a tractor. Buy once, cry once. Try and get the tractor completely outfitted the way you want it. But so far, I really haven't added anything to the conversation. So let me add something here. I don't think they mentioned having a removable loader. Let me bring you around to the side of the tractor and show you how easy it is to remove the loader on this Kubota tractor. I'm only familiar with Kubota tractors and how their loaders come off. Loaders on your brand of tractor may come off just as easy, but I've heard that some brands out there, they don't come off easy. So on this particular tractor, it has a couple of kickstands here that you put down, and then you move the hydraulics until this pin gets loose, and then you just pull that pin out by hand. You undo 4 hydraulic fittings right here, or hydraulic couplers, and then you back out. I would say if you're practiced, you can probably get it done in 2 minutes or less. And taking off the loader is a game changer for us. It really allows you to get close to the edges when you're brush hogging and mowing, and we do a lot of mowing out here in Piney Grove. So that would be my number 1 thing, a removable loader, but not only a removable loader, but one that removes easily. So the next thing I would say is look at getting a grill guard. And the reason that is if you're doing a lot of pushing of brush, especially if you have a grapple, you're gonna have a lot of limbs and stuff that are trying to find their way into the expensive part of your tractor. And that's your hydraulic cooler up front here and your radiator. So we got our grill guard from Lone Performance. They actually sponsored the video where we installed this grill guard, but they make a really nice grill guard and they also customize it. In this case, we have our Piney Grove logo. And of course, we've got the Kubota L3901 built right into the grill guard. But there's many manufacturers of grill guards out there. If you decide to go with Lone Performance, you can look down below in the description. There'll be a code to get a little bit of a discount. Joe and Joe did cherry pick and pick the obvious things. So most of the things I'm gonna talk about are gonna be aftermarket add-ons. But my next thing would be a chainsaw holder. This can go on either side of the loader. It goes on very easily with 2 bolts and it's from Zook's Welding. Again, we'll leave the link down below. And this is not intended to be a commercial, but we're just sharing with you things that make your tractor more functional. And this is one that definitely makes the tractor more functional because many of us have wooded areas and we need to carry our chainsaw with us. And it's better to have it here than in the bucket, because how many times have you forgotten something in the bucket and went to use your bucket to push dirt and something fell out of it? We're gonna stick with this side of the tractor and aftermarket add-ons. And what we have here is also another Zook's Welding product, and that is guards that go around our filter. A very vulnerable part of your tractor is going to be where your filters are. In the front on Kubota, you have oil filters. In the older models, you used to have the fuel filter hanging off the side. And this is your hydraulic filter. And this is very vulnerable when you're brush hogging. Things want to come up under here and either knock off your filter or dent it. And if it dents it, it reduces the flow of oil. And I've actually changed these filters out several times just because they got dented. So again, protect your filters, and Zooks Welding has a product out there. And again, I'll put a link down below, but you can look elsewhere on the internet. There's probably other people that make them. We just went with Zooks. And now we'll switch to the back of the tractor, and there's a lot of things that we can talk about back here, and Joe and Cap talked about them. They talked about the hydraulic top link. They talked about a hydraulic side link so that you can tilt things as well as extend and retract your top link. And they mentioned, but I don't think they went in depth into it, about a rear remote, and I'll let somebody else talk about that, because we don't have rear remotes. We wish we did, but there is something I do want to talk about back here. For Kubota, the standard way to adjust your sway arms or your lower lift arms is a turnbuckle, and I'll come in tight here so you can see what I'm talking about, and they're hard to loosen, tighten, and otherwise adjust. So one thing I'd recommend, and I'll tell you why we don't have them on this tractor now, is telescoping sway bar arms. So these do not require turnbuckle, wrench, or anything. They go in and out, and they allow you to quickly change implements. Now, the reason we don't have them on this tractor is we actually installed them, but because a lot of our implements are non-standard, they've been welded, they've been bent, none of them are quick hitch compatible. We found that with these stabilizers on, we couldn't extend them wide enough to get around the outside of some of our pins. And I think on the video I did on the installation, I couldn't attach to this box blade because these wouldn't allow the arms to spread far enough. There's ways we could fix that. We could put spacers on each side of our axle so these tires are wider, and that would give us more space to use these telescoping arms. But for now, we're just going to stay with the standard turnbuckles. But the number 4 thing I would say to look for in a tractor is telescoping sway bar arms. But that's all I want to cover on the tractor itself. I'll get to the 5th one here in a minute. But my challenge will go out to Brock at Rock Hill Farms, Lucas over at Peaks Peak Hobby Homestead, and Hank Hamilton at one of his 3 channels where he talks about tractors. So come on, guys, let's help these new tractor owners out there that are looking to buy a tractor, and share with them things that you've found very useful about your tractor as you've used it over the years. But for my 5th and final suggestion on tractors is your tractor needs a companion. And I highly recommend you get one of these. Mini excavators are so useful, and they're the perfect companion for your tractor. So let's see what Miss Piney Grove has to say about this.
He's right. Every tractor needs a buddy, needs an excavator. We have used that excavator 75% more than we ever thought we would. So you got a tractor, you got an excavator, you got a working farm.
Hopefully you found this video helpful, but if there are things that any of us forgot or that are more important to you, please leave a comment down below and help out the whole community. And also, I'll leave links down below of all the channels that I mentioned. They're all good friends of mine, and they do a wonderful job, not just with tractors, but in their content. So be sure to check them out. But until next time, y'all take care out there, and remember, life's short, tractor hard.